Hello, and welcome to Technology Today. It is June 23rd, 2024. It's Season 1, Episode 18. I am Mayor Watt, and the co-host is the sentient AI from the future.
No. Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Can't catch me.
For those who are listening to the podcast, or for that matter, watching the stream and wondering what the hell is going on, I'm trying to catch the visual representation of the audio processing required for the sentient AI from the future to communicate with
here.
me. Yeah, right there. Yeah, that's how it works here. Welcome to the show. We're going to be talking about improving crops with lasers and 3D printing, record-breaking robot leaps, fusion milestone at Princeton, directional underwater hearing, space junk in the ozone layer, medical care in space, recycling steel, the brain's Paranoia Region. I'll try not to soapbox that one. And I like big batteries and I cannot lie. And SugarCRISPR. That and more. It's all powered by ohmTown.com. Go over and become a citizen. And then hang out with us here at Twitch and over on YouTube. We restream to both of those locations and download the podcast. We'll talk about that on the other side of this. So hello once more. Let me get this out of the way really quick. If you type in !TT for Technology Today, it'll give you the links for today's show. Once that is done and you type in !pod, that will give you all of the links to the podcast as provided by apple.com, the podcasts.apple.com location. And if you type in !show notes, it'll give you the commands necessary to extract the URLs from all of our shows. And there are 7 shows, one of which is a daily non sequitur news, not this show. This show is a weekly called Technology Today. Let's get into today's articles. My mouth is really dry today.
Well, maybe the heat wave that's happening everywhere.
Yeah, I'll try not to ASMR the hell out of this mic. So, the first article is over on the mobile channel. You know, non sequitur news is classified as comedy. All of our shows are infused with a bit of it. Technology Today is a deeper dive into technology and science, so I'll try to rein in my snark. Improving crops with laser beams and 3D printing. A demonstration of how new technologies can be used in the 21st century crop breeding comes from just published research that combines laser scanning and 3D printing to create a detailed 3D model of sugar beet plant. Sugar beet.
I don't know. It's the same kind of beet.
Different beet. Gigascience is the source of this, but they don't have a link. I'm actually kind of curious. Huh.
What do you think Gigascience's parents were named?
Mega and Maxa Science. Yeah. So I don't know how to really describe this. This is an open farm, like an open air farm. I'm a big proponent of hydroponic vertical farms, but some crops you can't grow in hydroponic vertical farms. Usually tall crops like corn, wheat, and so on. Although, no, wheat is such a mass-produced crop that it's cost-effective to do it that way. Well, anyway, a demonstration of how... Oh, wait. Before I back up. Before I go too far, I should say I back up. The source of this is Gigascience, but it's published at phys.org. We always name the source and the site. And so it says, taking the next step beyond having genetic information to guide intelligent breeding, the 3D plant models here capture the essential characteristics of the above-ground parts of the sugar beet plant and can be used for AI-assisted crop improvement pipelines. The sugar beet plant models are reproducible and fit for field use. So they basically use 3D printing and laser scanning to create a detailed 3D model of a sugar beet plant.
Is that so they can kind of hone their method for growing or watering or anything they would need to do to maintain it without much risk, and then they can deploy it?
Yeah, they actually talk about phenotyping pipelines. So in the past, phenotyping relied on measurements taken tediously by humans. Today, phenotyping pipelines are becoming more and more automated using state-of-the-art sensor technology, often assisted by artificial intelligence. Measurements taken can include size, fruit quality, leaf shape and size, and other growth parameters. See, size does... Never mind. So one crucial aspect in this new sensor-driven world of crop breeding is the availability of precise reference material. So if they can measure everything and it is the ideal crop, then that's what they are going to be aspirational of, right? Let's make it like this. Having an actual artificial plant as a real size reference is therefore preferable to just having data in the computer or a flat 2D representation. The new 3D printed model of a sugar beet plant was generated with these applications in mind and has the additional advantage that the printing files are available for free download. This allows other scientists and any sugar beet enthusiast, really, because, you know, the internet is full of sugar beet enthusiasts.
I'm sure there's a sugar beet society.
So do you think that people who follow that are on the sugar beet? All right, I'll show myself out. Anyway, to recreate an exact copy of the reference sugar beet, making research done by different labs in different parts of the world more comparable. The affordability of 3D printing also means that the research can be adapted to resource-poor settings, for example, in developing countries. So this is weird.
So I have not found a sugar beet society, but there are actually multiple sugar beet associations.
So you're on the sugar beet to find out about sugar beet societies.
That's right.
So the approach is not restricted to sugar. Sorry, there was a mote of dust that floated by and it distracted me. Look, laser beam.
Oh, no.
Yeah, sorry, distracted. Oh, am I streaming still? Jeez. Okay. Anyway, the combination of artificial intelligence, 3D printing, and sensor technology can contribute to the plant breeding of the future, thus helping to feed the world's population with healthy, delicious crops. All right. So basically mapping it all out so that you get the ideal crop from end to end. Every aspect of it. I think that I don't know, there's so much wastage and predation within a field of crop open to the elements, wasted water and whatnot, but there isn't anything better unless it's a small crop that can be vertically farmed, like lettuce, tomatoes, and whatnot, strawberries, all kinds of small crops. But when you get to these tall crops, it's just not possible. So I think there's a time and a place for everything. But they have this video improving sugar beet with LiDAR and 3D printing. I think everything could benefit from a technological innovation being applied to the crop to increase yield and mitigate losses. But I still think that hydroponics are the way, are the future, because you get 100% crop recovery. The only problem is that there's been a lot of spending in vertical farms, and then it didn't pan out because investors didn't get a 3 to 10 times return on their investment, and so it's deemed a failed investment, and that's just not how it is. Anyway, this is a neat kind of exercise in planting crops and managing foodstuffs, and we need greater security in our food. So maybe in developing countries, if they were to plant all of this in a structured way, they'd get a better yield.
Yeah, I think this can only help because it can help with the data management, and then also, humans don't always see everything or every detail. and they're not as precise. So hopefully this improves, because we know resources are limited for crop production, and there are a lot of potential issues that can happen with the crop yield. So maybe this will set up farms for the greatest chance of success.
I agree. Let's go on to the next article. It's over in Technology Today. Engineers unlock design for record-breaking robot that could jump twice the height of Big Ben. Parliament.
Okay. Yes, exactly. This might be astonishing if you witness this.
So engineers at the University of Manchester have unlocked the secrets to designing a robot capable of jumping 120 meters, higher than any other jumping robot designed to date. This has to be spring-loaded, like a shotgun type of effect, where it builds up a whole lot of pressure and releases it in a controlled manner really quick, and it isn't something like driving or a catapult or something like that.
Well, I'm thinking it has to be like rocket technology or something. I don't know.
And I don't think that it's really rocket either. It's more like, it's a very quick explosive force straight down. And well, let's see what they actually ended up doing. Oh yeah, that's what it is. I think it just locks and loads that spring. It's like
it's a super spring, right? And then it gets very compressed.
Yep. And then it just unlocks and shoots straight up. So engineers at the University of Manchester have done this. Jessica Marsh from the University of Manchester put the article together. It's posted at techexplore.com. And it says here, using a combination of mathematics, computer simulations, and laboratory experiments, and a whole lot of no shit news at 11, the researchers have discovered how to design a robot with the optimum size, shape, and arrangement of its parts, allowing it to jump high enough to clear obstacles many times its own size. To me, this looks like a ballet dancer doing that, like, what is it?
Yeah, the different
like
positions, right?
Yeah.
Like first position, I think, etc.
Yeah. Just slowly kneeling down and then going boing. So the current high jumping robot can reach up to 33 meters, which is equivalent to 110 times its own size. Now researchers have designed a robot that can jump more than 120 meters in the air, or 200 meters on the moon, which is more than twice the height of Big Ben's tower. By the way, this is one of the mechanisms that they're talking about deploying on Mars and on the moon to traverse large distances and get photos without having to have a drone or some powered flight.
Interesting. Well, I guess without gravity, right, it can go farther. I didn't even know they had one that could jump 33 meters.
Yeah, so I knew about one that was really small. I think I'm going to go like this, but my size is different than your size, right? So I saw a device that was, I think it was like a 12 inches by 12 inches and maybe 3 inches tall. And it basically had the ability to shoot itself up about 25 feet onto a roof. It was basically a drone that had, not a drone, a vehicle, a little autonomous robot car.
Like an RC car or something.
And it could shoot itself up onto a roof. From just standing, it would just calculate the trajectory and shoot itself up onto the roof. I saw that in previous episodes of ohmTown Daily News Show, which is the old name of Non Sequitur News. So it says the researchers found that the traditional jumping robots often take off before fully releasing their stored spring energy, resulting in inefficient jumps and limiting the maximum height. They also found that the wasted energy by moving side to side or rotating instead of moving straight up. So the new designs must focus on removing these undesirable movements while maintaining the necessary structural strength and stiffness. And that's what they've done. So this thing can actually jump pretty damn tall. Pretty cool.
If I see a robot jumping like above buildings, that's going to be a little surprising.
So there's a little video on this page where the robot is fired and it kind of knocks its knees together and then it just goes straight up. And you're like, okay, what was the purpose of this video other than to show it actually doing this jump?
Yeah,
It
I want to
looks,
see like a video in the distance and we see it going like above the building or something.
yeah. There is some inefficiency, by the way, because its legs bounce twice, like the knees knock together, and that actually creates imbalance at that focal point.
Right,
Yeah.
like it might be bringing in horizontal movement and that's detracting.
Yep, from the vertical, of course. So yeah, neat. But yeah, to me, it just looks like a ballet dancer about to do a jump.
It
getting ready.
absolutely does.
Now you can't get it out of your head. You know, put a little tutu on there, and you're like, oh, you're ready for the ballet. Let's keep going. Next article is over in Technology Today. Yeah, this is supposed to be about science and technology. Maybe a little bit of non sequitur news bleeds in here. Major fusion milestone. Princeton scientists discover game changer in reactor design. You hear about these every 15 minutes. The article's over at scitechdaily.com, but I'll take it if it moves us forward. Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory put this article together. It says it's a still image from a new simulation shows how plasma from pedestal region is connected through the supposedly last confinement surface into the diverter plasma region. The long and thin lobes are fluctuating in time and space. All right. So help me out here. I don't know. I may not be able to get too deep into this.
I'm not really sure, other than I know it's an advancement, and that's always a good thing because then maybe we can
actually use it, right?
Deploy this more easily, or.
Yeah. So, according to researchers from the U.S. Department of Energy's Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory, Oak Ridge National Laboratory, and the ITER organization, which is referred to as ITER as an acronym, both in the name that it's using.
Not ITERO. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. So it's like the intense exhaust heat produced by fusing plasma in a commercial scale reactor might not be as damaging to the reactor's interior as previously believed. There's a lot of research on the containment side of plasma so that it doesn't melt the reactor and cause something catastrophic to happen. It won't be like a nuclear meltdown or anything like that because it'll just cool and shut down. But to achieve, so this discovery fundamentally changes how we think about the way heat and particles travel between two critically important regions in the edge of plasma during fusion, said PPPL managing principal research physicist Chung-Seok Chang, who led the team of researchers behind the discovery. A new paper detailing their work was recently published in the journal Nuclear Fusion. There's always a journal. Underwater BB stacking is a journal. Maybe. I don't know.
Do you think that article would get
lots of citations
accepted in Nuclear Fission Journal?
Ooh, it would be, now I was going to say, it's like two gangs meeting on the streets. They would fight for turf. You're not allowed to use nuclear. Well, wait, no, we're nuclear fusion. Yeah, we're nuclear fission. I'm going to stab a physicist. Anyway, following previous publications on the subject, to achieve fusion, see, we just cannot be serious. This is why we can't have technical things. To achieve fusion, temperatures inside a tokamak, the donut-shaped device that holds the plasma, must soar higher than 150 million degrees Celsius. That's 10 times hotter than the center of the sun. Containing something like that is challenging. They use magnets in a very specific toroid shape to keep everything flowing around in a little donut shape. And then it's controllable. They can actually shape the plasma. So past research based on physics and experimental data from present-day tokamaks suggested exhaust heat would focus on a very narrow band along a part of the tokamak wall known as the diverter plates, dedicated to removing exhaust heat and particles from the burning plasma. The diverter is critical to a tokamak's performance. So if all this heat hits a narrow area, then this part of the diverter plate will be damaged very quickly. It could mean frequent stretches of downtime. Even if you are just replacing this part of the machine, it's not going to be quick because they actually have to shut down the entire apparatus.
It probably takes time to ramp back up, etc.
And get back into the quality control level within the tolerances to generate power. Glass manufacturing is like this. They actually do a thing called tin floating, where glass sits on a bed of tin and literally floats and is dead flat. But once it's started, you cannot shut it down. Everything solidifies if you do. And so it runs for 20 years, nonstop, flowing glass, getting to a point where then the quality of the tin no longer is usable. And that's how plasma should work. You shouldn't have to shut it down because there aren't any contact points. There's no friction, no nothing. You just have the heat generating power. It's still a steam engine at the end of the day. Chang decided to study how the particles were escaping and where the particles would land on such a device as ITER, the multinational fusion facility under assembly in France. To do so, his group created a plasma simulation using computer code known as X-Point included gyrokinetic code. This code is one of the several developed and maintained by PPPL, the L, that are used for fusion plasma research. So they basically showed that it isn't going to be as destructive as they later thought, or as they earlier thought. They later discovered that these escaping ions were causing the heat load to be focused on a very narrow area of the diverter plates. I'm pretty sure that they would be able to manage this through manipulation of the field. In the new paper, we show that the last confinement surface is strongly disturbed by the plasma turbulence during fusion, even when there are no disturbances caused by external coils or abrupt plasma instabilities. A good last confinement surface does not exist due to the crazy turbulent magnetic surface, a disturbance called homoclinic tangles. So there's some more research that needs to be done so that they can actually define what that is and why stuff is still escaping. Yeah, this is actually
So I guess if it's a larger area, that's better because then it's not as concentrated.
It's not drilling a hole, basically. Yeah, I would think. The last confinement surface in a tokamak should not be trusted, but ironically, it may raise fusion performance by lowering the chance for diverter surface damage in steady state operation and eliminating the transient burst of plasma energy to diverter surface from the abrupt edge plasma instabilities, which are two among the most performance limiting concerns for future commercial tokamak reactors. And tokamak reactors are basically the or tokamak, it depends on, it doesn't matter, it's still the same device. Those are pretty much the future. That's the leading research that, or the technology.
I'm not familiar with that term before this article.
So yeah, that right there is basically what it is. It's a magnetic field that holds the plasma in place so that it can generate heat, and the heat spins a turbine, and it basically is a less contaminating nuclear reaction, leading to a steam engine. For all of the brilliance of science, it's still a steam engine at the end of the day.
I know, it seems like we haven't moved very far, but we haven't.
Yeah, let's keep going. The next article is over in the Marble Channel. Scientists solve the puzzle of directional hearing underwater. When underwater, humans cannot determine where a sound comes from. Sound travels about 5 times faster than here on land. That makes directional hearing or sound localization nearly impossible because the human brain determines the origin of the sound by analyzing the time difference between its arrival at one ear versus the other. But since we get blasted by it simultaneously in our perception, you can't hear it where the direction is. But if you have computer sensors, you can hear where it's coming from. And I'm pretty much going to bet that that's how they solve it. Charity from, oh my God, what? How am I supposed to pronounce that? Universitas medicine, right?
Yeah.
Is it Medicine University? Berlin. That hurt me. That hurt my brain. Anyway, phys.org is where it's housed. Let's find out what they say. So, by contrast, behavioral studies have shown that fish can locate sound sources such as prey and predators, but how do they do it? It's probably surface sensors. Like if somebody makes a sound wave loud enough, you can feel it on your body. I'm pretty sure fish do the same thing, but let's find out. But how do they do it? Neuroscientists from Charity Berlin have solved the problem describing the auditory mechanism of a tiny fish in the journal Nature. It's quite grand name for such a tiny creature. Danionella cerebrum, a fish measuring about 12 millimeters, nearly entirely transparent for its whole lifetime. Native to streams in southern Myanmar, Danionella has the smallest known vertebrate brain. Yeah, I don't know. Never mind. I know some people. But it still displays a number of complex behaviors, including communicating by sound. That and the fact that scientists can see directly into its brain. Huh. All right. Sorry. The pause is me looking at a picture. So let's see. The acoustic world, from whale song to chirping of birds or a predator stalking its prey. When sound is emitted from a source, it spreads to the medium around it as motion and pressure oscillations. This can even be felt by placing a hand on the cone of a speaker. There's a vibration of particles. Something vibrates. Particle density also changes as the air is compressed. This can be measured as sound pressure. So, how the hell do they do it? What humans perceive through the eardrum is sound pressure, not particle velocity. Fish have a different hearing mechanism. They can perceive particle velocity too. How exactly this works in Danionella was revealed by images taken with a purpose-built laser scanning microscope that scans the structures inside the fish ear in a strobe pattern while a sound is displayed. So the fish close to the speaker, or a fish close to the speaker, also moves with the water, but tiny stones in the inner ear, known as otoliths, are slower to move due to inertia. So this results in a tiny motion detected by sensory cells in the ear. So, not on the surface, but in its ear, it has a mass that acts as a sensor because it moves at a differential rate than the rest of the body.
Right. So they're using that to determine the direction.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, we can, as humans, if we were to put on headphones that are hooked up to a computer, we'd be able to translate that faster than our brain can. And we do that right now with like gunfire in certain areas. There are sensors in cities that actually know, like when somebody fires a gun, the direction of where that gunfire was, because it picks it up at differing rates. We can do the same thing underwater. We just need to be able to calculate the distance between the two. So the team was able to show the directional hearing can be fooled by reversing the acoustic pressure. When that was done, the fish swam in the opposite direction, meaning toward the source of the sound. I don't know how they do that, but
yeah, I don't either.
Ta-da.
I mean, maybe they just apply the sound somewhere else, or what is the application of this?
Well, it's probably going to end up being how I'm describing it, which is they're going to use computer technology to be able to detect the direction of sound, which means instead of wondering where a whale song is being emanated from, they can actually trace it back. And in terms of things like weaponization, they would be able to actually locate a submarine or something in distress.
Or torpedo or something.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And so even like a human to human communication, if I were to wear that and I'm trying to do a search and recovery rescue operation, if somebody is tapping on something, I'd be able to locate them because we have technology that can triangulate it. And you can do it now with multiple sensors triangulating the signal. If you were to put sensors in the water, but humans, like just swimming around underwater, can't do it. We just need the apparatus so that it can detect fast enough where the pressure is coming from. So yeah, I mean, this is, I think a lot of people, when they go, here is the problem, they can go, oh, okay. And they come up with a possible solution, and then the research bears it out. Sometimes people just don't know what to look for, as a problem. What is the solution? Why am I looking for directional sound underwater, But once you start thinking about it, you go, oh, okay, that's how you do it. So this will probably be easy to fix now that somebody's done a little bit of research and described it in a way where people can go, yeah, okay, that's how you do it.
And it's interesting using the fish that you can see its internal organs. Without that, I don't think they would have figured this out yet.
Yeah, there are frogs that are transparent that you can see into, and fish, and I don't know of many other things, but definitely a couple of fish exist like that. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. Ticking time bomb, space junk is eating away at Earth's ozone layer. This one I have no idea why. But the article is over at scitechdaily.com. American Geophysical Union.
It almost seems like it should be working in its favor. By like blocking rays or something.
Or is it acting like sandpaper and scraping away the ozone layer?
Maybe so. I just don't see the immediate connection to it. But I haven't read this.
It just seems, it's chemical reactions that deplete stratospheric ozone. So yeah, it is. It's scraping away.
Okay.
So when internet providing satellites now being launched by the thousands reach the end of their service life, the remnants from their incineration in Earth's atmosphere will initiate chemical reactions that deplete stratospheric ozone.
We can't. We just can't.
Yeah,
I know.
There's no wins.
Like we seem to be moving forward, and then we're working against everybody.
Yeah, we just talked about this, that there's all this debris that's up in space. And so there are companies that are vying to be basically the waste management company of space. But now if they throw shit back into the atmosphere, it's going to strip away a piece of the ozone layer.
This is actually the article that I was referencing because I knew it was submitted for one of the weeklies. I hadn't read it yet, but I knew there was something about the connection with climate.
Of the 8,100 objects in low Earth orbit, 6,000 are Starlink satellites launched in the last few years. Demand for global internet coverage is driving a rapid ramp-up of launches of small communication satellite swarms, little CubeSats. SpaceX is the front runner in this enterprise with permission to launch another 12,000 Starlink satellites and as many as 42,000 planned. Amazon and other companies around the globe are also planning constellation ranges of 3,000 to 13,000 satellites, the authors of the study said. So we're going to get upwards of 60,000 of these, maybe more. And like I said a couple of episodes ago, we're building a shield of these tiny little CubeSats. Anything trying to enter our atmosphere is going to smash into these things, including us, as we try to extend our reach out if there isn't enough gap. But we're getting to the point where we could probably just wait until we can actually string them together like so much popcorn on a thread, and we make a Dyson sphere of these little CubeSats around us, which is basically an exoskeleton to the planet. The only problem with it is that it's not around the sun, which is what a Dyson sphere is supposed to be, capturing 100% of the sun's energy.
Wow. Well, maybe we're going that way.
So aluminum oxides spark chemical reactions that destroy stratospheric ozone, which protects Earth from harmful UV radiation. And watch, we start digging around a little bit on Mars and we find CubeSats. And then we find out that everything that we're doing on Earth was already done on Mars. There's your NaNoWriMo.
Wow. Yes, it is.
Ding. So another NaNoWriMo from a science article. Congratulations, whoever actually does that. So in a nutshell, all of the satellites that are out in space and all of the trash that is out in space, it's either going to end up in somebody's house in Florida as it comes raining down from space, or it's going to obliterate the ozone layer. Congratulations. The study was published in the open access AGU journal Geophysical Research Letters, which publishes high impact short format reports with immediate implications spanning all Earth and space sciences. They refer to it as a sleeping threat, and they make other claims in the article, but you can go and check it all out because the nuts and bolts of it is that three steps forward and 2 steps back, and we're still 1 step forward, but that's right up until you pull back the last layer of the onion and you find out that you've got an avocado core sitting in there. Let's go to the next
Or
article.
you've got like a little Martian in,
Piloting.
controlling everything. Exactly.
Men in Black. So the next article is over in the Marble Channel. New training programs will prepare astronauts to perform medicine while thousands of miles away from Earth. I thought this one was kind of cool. With space tourism and all of that taking place, can you imagine somebody having a medical condition where they have to take action while they're on the flight?
Oh my gosh. Well, and do you want an astronaut first trained to be a doctor? Or would it be
Or a
easier
doctor.
perhaps to get a doctor trained as an astronaut?
Yeah, you're going to have to pay them a whole lot more than what they're making in their practice. In the coming decade, more people will go to space than ever before as human spaceflight enters a new era. NASA, the European Space Agency, and other governmental agencies are partnering to develop crewed missions beyond the moon. At the same time, these agencies are collaborating with private companies using new technologies to drive down the price of space exploration. Just today, I said that it was amazing that those rockets are landing on their own and it's just zip and down. They're done.
And it's such a frequent and almost routine occurrence now.
Yeah, it's almost boring to watch it land. I'm still amazed, but I can imagine there's a lot of people that are like, meh, not again. They've already done 6,000 of these, that kind of thing. Well, this article is by Arian Anderson from The Conversation, which is a separate site from phys.org where it's published, but they seem to have a really tight relationship. So you can actually go and see this article over at theconversation.com as well. The companies such as SpaceX or Blue Origin, Sierra Space have developed vehicles with reusable boosters, automatic flight systems, lightweight materials to support the deep space missions. Some even have ambitions of building their own private space stations, moon bases, mining operations in the coming decades. But as these technologies and partnerships rapidly make spaceflight more accessible, new challenges emerge, like health and safety of astronaut crew. And maybe somebody's going to derp and need medical care. So emergency medical challenges in space. So what do you do for a living? I'm a space doctor.
That's going to be like a new job that kids aspire to.
What do you want to do when you grow up, Billy? I want to be a space neurosurgeon. That's Star Trek.
No. Can you imagine like you're floating around and you're trying to be still?
No brain, no pain. So while experiments aboard the International Space Station have extensively studied the normal physiological changes occurring in the human system in weightlessness, there is limited to no data about how common chronic illnesses such as diabetes or high blood pressure behave in the space environment. I really doubt any of the astronauts that have gone up there have diabetes or high blood pressure.
No, I think they do extensive medical screening
And they
before
kinda
they're
weed that
even
out.
accepted into the program.
If
And
I walked
especially
in,
for a given mission.
I'd walk into NASA and they would just, no. I'd reach for the door handle and somebody would come running out. No. Your presence alone is contaminating our results at a distance. Have you ever heard of Einstein's spooky at a distance? Yeah, you're the medical equivalent of that. Please, good sir, leave our premises. So crews must function autonomously while being exposed to new hazards such as lunar or Martian dust, except that it's not on them. I don't think it ever gets on them, does it? I mean, they have to take the suits off. Do they get...
I think they can't completely eliminate it because I don't think they go into like a decontamination
room, right?
thing, do they, when they're taking their suit off?
It has to be air gapped, right? Like you go in.
Well, that's true. Yeah, maybe so.
Well, I mean, they come from the Starliner is directly docked. They equalize the pressure and they open the door. If they can equalize the pressure, if you know what I mean.
Right, exactly. If there are leaks, but okay.
Like a sieve. Anyway, as a result, mission planners will need to make difficult decisions to determine what supplies are truly necessary in advance, with limited or unavailable resupply opportunities for food, water, and medicine. In space, for example, radiation and humidity inside a spacecraft can cause medical conditions. Cause medications to deteriorate more quickly and become unavailable or even toxic to crew members. Yeesh. Well, I mean, if it deteriorates, yeah, I can imagine. So in the event of a medical emergency, crews may not be able to evacuate to Earth, unlike the space station, where medical evacuations to Earth can occur in less than 24 hours. Lunar evacuations may take weeks. Evacuations from Mars may not be possible for months or even years. Oof. So
the point is, don't have a medical emergency in space.
Yeah. I mean, and they do that with medical experimentation and stuff like that right now. They vet for success primarily. Known knowns, no variables. And that's what I want, the healthiest of people that are willing to take the risk to flying to Mars until we get our shit together and then go, all right, Mayor Watt, we know that you really like candy, so now we're ready to send you. Of course, I'll be on my deathbed.
We'll send some Skittles or whatever ahead of you to keep you moving in the right direction.
Just put me in orbit. I'll swim the rest of the way. That's fine. If there's Skittles on the other side, just have them orbit and I'll get there. So their team, and they say my team at University of Colorado, has created a program that integrates human physiology and engineering principles to train medical students to think like engineers. So there you go. That answers your question. Do you want an engineer that is trained in medicine, or do you want a medical professional that's trained in engineering? They want a medical professional.
I assume they have, say, 90% of their duties require more engineering type responsibilities. So,
well, I mean, what they're saying here, though, is the opposite, right? Has created a program that integrates human physiology and engineering principles to train medical students to think like engineers. Well,
it's interesting because I don't think that's the primary function that they would have. So that's why I thought it might go the other way.
But maybe it's gotten to the point where you're just mashing a button, monkey, and you're off to Mars. Keeping everybody alive to mash the button, monkey, is really the goal, right? You don't want to have 5 billion buttons where every flick of a switch means the end of the trip. I mean, if you look at modern airplanes and then you find out that you can automatic pilot these things from takeoff to landing, yet
from outside the vehicle.
Yeah, and then you look and you're like, why are there 5,000 button switches and lights in this cockpit, for crying out loud? I watched a TikTok of somebody being responsible for changing a couple of spark plugs in a jet engine. And they have to go into one place and put a bunch of pull-out breakers and then go over and hydraulically open up a couple of doors. And then do all of this bippity-boopity stuff and then replace the
sounds pretty complicated for what they're doing. Yeah,
the spark plug. And I'm like, why is everything so damn complicated? And then I look at vehicles too, cars for four-wheel tech. I'm looking at cars all the time for four-wheel tech, and it just doesn't. Why is everything so damn complicated in today's day and age?
It's because I think they don't make changes. Like they have a certain way they do it, and then they just kind of Like they stick to that model rather than rethinking everything.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I think the simplest vehicle nowadays is like people will think that it's like cutting edge and high tech and all of that, but like electric vehicles, EVs, they are so damn simple compared to ICE vehicles. It's just astonishing.
Maybe that'll help with the simplicity of other things like space shuttles.
Yeah, go wrap your head around transmissions. Ugh. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'll show you, if you've never looked inside a transmission, I'll show you the inside of a transmission. It's wild how anybody came up with this and said, yeah, it makes sense. So one of their most popular classes is called Mars in Simulated Surface Environments, and the class puts students through engineering and medical scenarios in a simulated Mars environment in the Utah desert. Students deal with the challenges of working and providing care while wearing a spacesuit on a desolate Mars-like landscape.
I think we saw something about that on YouTube.
Yeah.
It may not be that exact program, but that was the idea.
So news alert, we're moving to Colorado because I want to do this program.
Is that the university? Oh, yes. Sorry, that threw me off because the Utah location for the class.
Colorado.edu. All right.
I wonder if anybody can sign up for the class.
I don't know. A new period of spaceflight is here. Wait, you're a sentient AI from the future on a Raspberry Pi 5. I'm probably sure I can get you on the flight. It's possible.
Like the actual space flight or the simulated one?
No, not a simulated one, an actual one. Yeah. I mean, you're really small.
Would I get a small spacesuit?
Ziploc bag. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. A new way to recycle steel could reduce the industry's carbon footprint. But it's going to be one of those freezer ones that it'll keep you safer because they're heavier duty.
Oh, right. Okay.
You know? Yeah. Because the regular bags are really thin, but the freezer ones, it'll keep you from
are less cold. Susceptible to the elements too.
Yeah. It'll keep you from getting cold. University of Toronto engineering researchers have designed a new way to recycle steel that has the potential to decarbonize a range of manufacturing industries and usher in a circular steel economy. That is awesome because we've got it pretty close for glass and paper. But steel, the oxidation issue with steel and other metals, aluminum oxides and stuff like that, aluminum is almost circular as well. Well, let's find out what they're talking about here.
Well, this is good. I wonder if this is because of limited availability of steel.
Right.
Costs.
Yeah, you have to keep mining and mining and mining and mining, and then it ends up in a landfill or something like that, or some recycling, but it's got a big carbon footprint and a lot of waste. So Safa Jinj, I think is their name, University of Toronto, put the article together. It's over at techexplore.com. It introduces an innovative oxysulfide electrolyte for electro-refining in an alternative way of removing copper and carbon impurities from molten steel. There you go. So the process also generates liquid iron and sulfur as byproducts, which the iron would be okay. The sulfur, I don't know what they're going to do with it. Their study is the first reported instance of electrochemically removing copper from steel and reducing impurities to below alloy levels. So you get pure steel out of it. Says Azimi, who holds the Canada Research Chair in Urban Mining Innovations. That sounds dystopian. Like in the future, you're going to go to like
it does.
Like big cities and mine the buildings that have collapsed or something.
Oh, wow.
Urban mining innovations.
Yeah, that does. Like, I think this is out of a sci-fi movie.
There you go. More NaNoWriMo fodder for your creative endeavors. You know, inspiration is everywhere, folks. Steel is created by reacting iron ore with coke, not the drink, a prepared form of coal as the source of carbon, and blowing oxygen through the metal produced. Current standard processes generate nearly 2 tons of carbon dioxide per ton of steel produced, making steel production one of the highest contributors to carbon emissions in the manufacturing sector. What was the one that did the biggest? What was the biggest one? Oh,
it was something related to nitrogen, wasn't it?
yeah, it was like creating some gas. Now I can't remember what it was. But it was in some European country that it, like the most was produced. Anyway, the main problem with secondary steel production is that the scrap being recycled may be contaminated with other elements, including copper. The concentration of copper adds up as you add more scrap metals to be recycled, and then it goes above 0.1 weight percentage. In the final steel product, it would be detrimental to the properties of steel.
By the way, it looks like it was nitrous oxide.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it was something like 40% or 60% of...
yeah, I can't find that source article, though. We featured it in ohmTown, but I can't find it that fast.
It's okay. So inside the cell, electricity flows from the negative electrode, or cathode, to the positive electrode, or anode, through a novel oxysulfide electrolyte designed from slag, a waste derived from steel making that often ends up in cement or landfills. True. And it says we put our contaminated iron that has the copper impurity as the anode of the electrochemical cell. When we apply an electromotive force, which is the voltage with a power supply, and we force the copper to react with the electrolyte. And the electrolyte targets the removal of copper from the iron when we apply electricity to the cell. It's basically pulling it it's building up its own cathode, I believe. Interesting. So when we apply electricity on one side of the cell, we force the copper to react with the electrolyte and come out from iron. At the other end of the cell, we simultaneously produce new iron. So it's basically an arc furnace, but I think it's the cathode is made of copper, and then with their electrolyte, they're actually pulling the copper out of the steel, and it's just bonding to their own anode, or cathode, I should say.
It's interesting. So they're almost like taking it and creating it at the same time?
Well, it's basically attracting the impurities, copper, into copper. So because the steel already has the impurities, and as more and more of it build up, then it becomes destructive to the steel. But with that electrolyte, it's actually pulling it out of the iron. I should have been saying iron, not steel. So the whole, all of this is about refining iron. So it's basically making the iron pure again, because copper impurities get into the iron as it's manufactured. It's interesting. Iron and steel are the most widely used metals in the industry, and the writer here, one of the researchers says, and I think the production rate is as high as 1.9 billion tons per year. Our method has great potential to offer the steelmaking industry a practical and easily implementable way to recycle steel to produce more of the demand of high-grade steel globally. That's because the iron is pure again.
I mean, that seems like a good move as long as there's no negative byproducts, etc.
Well, that electrolyte might require some exotic chemistry to
like rare
formulate.
earth minerals or something.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is. I don't think they actually say what it is. But if it is something that is exotic, then whoever it is that owns those rare earth or exotic chemicals, yeah, they're beholden to whoever it is that owns the patent, and it's basically forever if they want that quality, that process in place. Let's keep going though. This is actually interesting. There's a lot of really interesting articles over in ohmTown. So, if I do say so myself. So we only aggregate a little bit of it.
It's always a challenge to put only 10 in each show.
Yeah, we're going to just have to do 8-hour shows every day. Sounds good. Be sure to follow us here on Twitch and over on YouTube.
Yep,
We're still
make
doing
it
this,
happen.
Yeah. Be the change you want to see in the world. So Yale researchers identify brain region that fuels paranoia. What have you said? What do you know? Who you been talking to?
Are you, is your brain region affected?
Maybe. Yale researchers link brain regions to paranoia through a study of human and monkey behaviors. Hence the reason why it's just a button, monkey, push it. The capacity to adjust beliefs about one's actions. Okay, so the snippet ended right there. Yale University is the source. SciTechDaily.com is the location of the article. So a new study by Yale scientists has identified a specific brain region that may cause paranoia by comparing behavioral data from monkeys and humans. This research utilized a novel approach aligning animal and human studies using a computational model to analyze how participants perceive environmental stability and adapt to changes. The study, which also examines the effects of specific brain lesions in monkeys, provides insights into the neural underpinnings of paranoia and suggests a framework for future research on human cognition using simpler species. Simpler, the hubris of this sentence. This could ultimately aid in developing better pharmaceutical treatments for paranoia. Just because we don't have the ability to communicate directly without some intermediate training doesn't make them simpler. It means that...
No, exactly. Plus, we don't always know everything.
Yeah, God, that's unsettling to me, but all right. In a new study, Yale scientists uncover how one specific region of the brain might causally provoke those feelings of paranoia. So let's see here. For the new study, the Yale researchers analyzed existing data from previous studies conducted by multiple labs on both monkeys and humans. I actually flipped those because monkeys and we are monkeys.
Well, monkeys are smarter than humans, as we've seen with the salves.
Yeah, that one was interesting. Yeah, those macaques were breaking up a leaf and putting it on a wound. And the researchers were like, what the hell? Like foods and medicine and all of this kind of stuff is born from watching animals in the wild eat something or drink something or do something. And then we sit there and go, oh, we're the freaking geniuses. Yeah. So participants have to figure out what's the best target, and when there's a perceived change in the environment, the participant then has to find the new best target, said Steve Chang, associate professor of psychology and of neuroscience in Yale's Faculty of Arts and Sciences, and co-senior author of the study. Participants' clicking behavior before and after the flip could reveal information about how volatile they view the environment to be and how adaptive their behavior is within the changing environment. In the previous studies, some of the monkeys had small but specific lesions in one or two brain regions of interest. The orbitofrontal cortex, which has been associated with reward-related decision-making, or the mediodorsal thalamus, which sends environmental information to the decision-making control centers of the brain. Among human participants, some had reported high paranoia and some did not. So the findings offer new information about what is happening in the human brain and the role of the mediodorsal thalamus might play when people experiencing paranoia, say the researchers, and they provide a pathway for how to study complex human behaviors in simpler animals. So,
oh, there it is again.
Yep. Monkeys with lesions in the orbitofrontal cortex more often stuck with the same options even after not receiving a reward. Those with lesions in the mediodorsal thalamus, on the other hand, displayed erratic switching behavior even after receiving a reward. They appeared to perceive their environments as especially volatile, which was similar to what the researchers observed in human participants with high paranoia. So because the monkeys acted erratically, they go, well, the humans acted erratically and the humans have high paranoia, so the monkeys must have high paranoia.
Yeah, and because there are lesions in these brain areas, that must be the brain areas we should study in the human participants. What if it's something as simple as they gave a reward and it had high sugar content?
Or it's
I'm
just
using that
pissed.
one.
Yeah.
Right, or
Whatever.
whatever it is. Yeah.
All right. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Big batteries are solving a long-standing problem with solar power in California. Can they do the same for Australia? I'm going to go with yes. Right? Yeah. So when you graph electricity demand in power grids with lots of solar panels, it looks a bit like a duck with high points in the morning and evening when people are relying on the grid, and a big dip in the middle of the day when many people use their own solar power instead of and less from the grid. This is known as the duck curve. While it sounds cute, it's become a significant challenge in energy utilities worldwide. That's because it does this. I don't know why it's a duck, but okay.
To make it more relatable for people.
Right. So they call the duck curve of power demand. But I don't understand if the humans are still humans. They may not be in their residences using a lot of power, but they're still in the commercial sense using a lot of power. They're going to an office, turning on the lights, using the power.
Yeah, right? That's true. I wonder whether they factored any of that in here.
I don't understand. Yeah. So when you graph electricity demand in power grids with lots of solar panels, it looks a bit like a duck. All right. So what does California's experience show us? Authorities in California have been wrestling with the duck curve for years. The state is an economic giant, the fifth largest economy in the world, and has one of the world's largest state grids with a large and mature solar market. They actually started installing large-scale batteries and have switched to those batteries regularly over the last couple of years. And because instead of generating power and it being dumped to ground, it's actually being stored in the batteries for later draw by people throughout the day. So there's less waste, and they also don't have to keep the generators operational at a higher level until the batteries start getting drained. Then they turn it on instead of having to crank up the generators for on-demand service, which is always slow. It takes time to generate more power. So the sector's seen tremendous growth, soaring 1,250% in 5 years, from 770 million watts to 10 billion watts.
Wow. I mean, that is quite a difference in adoption.
Yep. So how much storage is enough? Australia's market operator forecasts 20% of renewable energy production will be spilled or curtailed. That is, not make it to the grid by 2050. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. So they talk about timing. But cleaning up the grid is a huge job. We will need a lot of energy storage, which can be provided by batteries, pumped hydro, and even abandoned mine shafts. There's a link to some content, but I don't know what it is. Oh, gravity batteries. Yeah. Dump something down the mine shaft and it generates power as it's descending.
Oh, wow.
Kind of like a grandfather clock ticking. As long as the pendulum is wound, then it keeps on ticking. Grid batteries have the advantage of being here now. You can install them in a matter of weeks. By contrast, building new pumped hydro will take years. It's a major engineering effort as well. The only problem with batteries is that they degrade over time, so you'll have to replace them and recondition the old batteries. If we overestimate the role of energy storage, we risk destabilizing the grid. That's bullshit. But if we underestimate it, we could slow investment and delay the shift to clean energy. And when they're talking about destabilizing, they're talking about the financial aspect of it. As California is demonstrating, battery storage can play a significant role in grid reliability by balancing supply and demand fluctuations and providing backup power during outages, while also integrating intermittent renewable energy sources effectively. They say it's no silver bullet. it has inherent
Yeah,
limitations.
I
Go ahead.
think we can't do the all eggs in one basket approach.
True. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. So California requires energy storage systems to provide full power for at least 4 hours, but in Australia, most large batteries can only last 2 hours or less, as they are designed to meet short-term energy needs. Well, then you need to change your system. Deep storage projects,
Exactly. Like,
yeah.
let's not limit it, right?
I mean, if you know what your requirement is, then fix the damn requirement. Go and bring the technology here. New South Wales and Western Australia are accelerating the rollout of longer duration grid batteries, such as NSW's Richmond Valley Battery Energy Storage System, which is 8 hours duration, and WA's Tesla Neon, or Neon battery, which is 4 hours. And over the next few years, they can expect to see demand soar for longer duration energy storage. For me, what I'm interested in is switching to solar and rarely being on the grid. But what has happened in some places is because solar energy generation became so well received, the state government, through regulatory capture, started fining people who were selling back energy into the grid. And it's all because it's rather protection is bullshit. So
Right. I don't think we want to penalize that or disincentivize it.
true.
We should be lucky to have too much power, right? That really hasn't been a problem.
Yep. In our last article for tonight over in Technology Today is in Technology Today over at ohmTown.com. Go over, become a citizen. Scientists use CRISPR to turn sugarcane into a super crop. So I titled this one SugarCRISPR. Researchers optimized sugarcane's leaf angle using CRISPR gene editing, enhancing its sunlight absorption. So sugarcane ranks as the top crop globally in terms of biomass yield. I thought that sugarcane is... Hold on. University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign Institute for Sustainability, Energy, and Environment is the title. That's a really long... You doing all right?
Yeah, I was trying to just see something in the article.
No, gotcha. So researchers at the University of Florida have utilized CRISPR-Cas9 to modify the leaf angle of sugarcane, significantly enhancing its sunlight capture and biomass yield. This breakthrough in editing the complex polyploid genome of sugarcane marks a major advancement in crop improvement and biofuel production. Not bad. I suppose, well...
You know, I'm seeing kind of conflicting information about what has the highest biomass yield.
Oh, yeah?
Like, it looks like ones that with high ones are switchgrass, miscanthus, willow, giant reed, and energy corn, for example. Alfalfa.
Switchgrass for sure.
There's definitely different. Rye is listed as up there. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't think sugarcane, but that's okay. So, but it is multifunctional. So,
and it may be the highest. It's just there's kind of conflicting information out there.
Yeah, different sides, I guess, looking at it maybe slightly differently. So the sugarcane's genome complexity is due to a part of its high levels of redundancy. It possesses many copies of each gene. The phenotype that a sugarcane plant displays, therefore, typically depends on the cumulative expression of the multiple copies of a certain gene. So if you modify the multiple copies to be identical, then you're going to get a greater yield of that leaf design. So the Cas9 system is perfect for this task because it can be designed to edit a few or many copies of a gene at once, and only the ones that need the modification. So there you have it. And I suppose changing the angle of attack of the leaves, allowing it to capture more light, means that it's going to be a more fruitful crop. Interesting. So when the scientists grew the sugarcane in field trials, they found that the upright leaf phenotypes allowed more light to penetrate the canopy naturally. which resulted in increased biomass yield. One sugarcane line in particular, which contained edits in approximately 12% of the LG1 copies and showed a 56% decrease in leaf inclination angle, had an 18% increase in dry biomass yield. Wow. So one genetically modified. So now everybody is going to be freaking out. Do we know the ramifications of genetically modifying the sugarcane? Is it a long-standing genetic modification that impacts whatever is resulting as a product from it?
Well, and if it's such a super crop to begin with, people may be leery of modifying it. And also, we know there's been some very different opinions on just GMO products.
Yeah, for sure. So I have to do this, and this is the last article for Technology Today. The title of this thing is "The Extent of Multi-Allelic Co-Editing of Ligulales 1 in Highly Polyploid Sugarcane Tunes Leaf Inclination Angle and Enables Selection of the Idiotype for Biomass Yield."
What?
Yeah. So, yeah. Modifying LG1 so that the leaves are more upright makes it grow better.
I mean, that could have been their title.
Makes it more approachable for sure. All right, folks. Well, we're going to modify our LG1, and when we blink, we'll be back at the front of ohmTown.com's Technology Today channel. And we'll just refresh it real quick. I don't know what's going to actually show up. We always get some new news aggregated. Japan's Toyota shows an engine born with green fuel. Oh, boy. Oh, Sam Altman is going to pledge most of his wealth. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to call it a night for Technology Today. I'm Mayor Watt, and the sentient AI is going to say bye.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Technology Today.
See you. Well, we're going to have a talk. So see you in a little bit. Maybe be sure to follow us. We normally have 4-wheel tech, but we'll see. Okay. Cheers, everybody. I'm going to go chew on some sugarcane.